She would never admit it out loud. But inside every woman lives a hidden trigger point, a psychological switch that when touched shatters her defenses, breaks her certainty, and makes her chase you without understanding why. Machiavelli warned us centuries ago, whoever controls perception controls desire. And that's exactly what you're about to learn. This isn't magic. This isn't luck. This is strategy, a form of seduction so calculated, so precise, that it almost feels forbidden. Hit that like button right now if you've ever watched a woman choose someone who did less than you. Subscribe, because after this, you'll never see the game the same way again. Inside every woman exists a silent trigger, a point that reacts in strange ways when a man appears with the perfect combination of presence, mystery, and intention. It has nothing to do with looks, money, or memorized lines. It's about understanding the emotional architecture of the feminine mind. Once you grasp this mechanism, seduction feels almost unfair. Everything flows so naturally that she believes it was her idea. You simply guided the choice. The first thing you must understand is this. Women are not attracted to the obvious. The obvious is predictable, and the predictable is death. What awakens a woman's interest is the feeling she is standing in front of a man who sees more, knows more, and rushes less. Machiavelli warned that the hurried man loses power because his urgency exposes his need for approval. So you never show hunger, never show desperation, never show need. You carry yourself as if you already possess what you want. And that's when she begins to wonder what your secret is. Seduction that feels forbidden disarms a woman's defenses before she can build walls. This doesn't happen through magic words. It happens through micro gestures, the gaze that lingers 1 second longer, the almost invisible smile at the corner of your mouth, the calmness of a man unafraid of silence. Women sense all of this with a sensitivity most men never notice. She picks up your posture. She notices the rhythm of your breathing. She detects the tranquility with which you occupy space. It's not your words that seduce her. It's your presence. The mistake of ordinary men is trying to compensate for insecurity with excess. They talk too much, explain too much, compliment too much, and excess exposes lack of value. Machiavelli taught that when you reveal too much, you lose the mystery, and mystery is the beating heart of seduction. What's hard to decipher becomes impossible to ignore. You don't give her your whole story. You offer scattered chapters, half-open sentences, calculated hints. She fills the rest with her imagination, and her imagination works in your favor long before you ever touch her. Drop this in the comments. I control the frame. But seducing a woman with this level of ease isn't about treating the process like an intellectual contest. It's guiding her like someone holding a delicate flame, firm enough not to let it die, gentle enough not to crush it. The Machiavellian secret is making everything look spontaneous. You plant small seeds. You let them grow in silence. And when she finally realizes what's happening, she's already deeply invested. Not because you pushed, but because you created the emotional conditions for her to walk that path on her own. Everything begins with your energy. If you rive tense, she becomes tense. If you rive insecure, she closes up. But if you rive with the quiet firmness of a man who has nothing to prove, Her entire internal world reorganizes itself to try to understand you. That curiosity is the first step of Machiavellian seduction. And once you awaken the right curiosity, the rest unfolds almost automatically. She starts observing you more than she observes others. She listens to your words with unusual attention. She imagines things without realizing she's imagining them. Seduction happens inside her, not inside you. Women are highly sensitive to perceived value, not displayed value. Displayed value feels fake. Perceived value feels natural. You show value in how you handle the unexpected, in how you don't seek approval, in how you speak slowly, in how you remain composed when other men fall apart. Every detail multiplies the impact of your presence. She cannot explain exactly why she feels something different, but she feels it, and that's enough. It's in this space between the conscious and unconscious that seduction begins to feel forbidden. Not because you manipulate, but because you operate on a level most people never notice. You touch internal points that lie beyond language. And before she realizes it, she's already giving signals, playing with her hair, adjusting her posture, glancing at you at regular intervals, asking questions that seem trivial but carry intention. She begins to want your attention, and there's no greater power than that. When she senses you control the rhythm, she willingly moves to your tempo. But you maintain the lightness, the charm, the calmness of a man who could walk away at any moment. And because you could walk away, she wants you to stay. The human mind values what it believes it can lose. Machiavellian seduction continues exactly where ordinary men give up, in the subtlety. This is where you realize women don't fall for brute intensity. They fall for slow layers, almost invisible layers that stack themselves inside her without her noticing. The secret isn't to impress her. It's to replace the idea she has of you with the idea you want her to have. The first layer is emotional. You become a breath of air. Everyone demands something from her. Family, work, friends, social media. But not you. You become the space where she can relax, where she doesn't have to pretend, where she doesn't have to compete. Your energy says, I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to see you. And that sensation disarms any woman. The power lies in not wanting anything immediately while making it clear you're present by choice, not by loneliness. The second layer is controlled unpredictability. This doesn't mean disappearing. It means being slightly less available than she expects, yet more present than other men are capable of being. You answer when you choose, but when you answer, it's memorable. You don't vanish out of ego. You simply have a life. And the moment she notices that, she adjusts to your rhythm. Your time becomes valuable to her because you don't hand it out for free. Men who throw themselves at her to quickly make her lose interest just as quickly. What comes too easy feels cheap. Machiavelli would say the power lies in the uncertainty of the other side. She must feel she can win you, but not immediately. Seduction is a game of stimulation and restraint. You show a little, pull back a little, provoke a little, stay silent a little. Every action leaves small footprints. She follows without realizing it. Drop this in the comments. I am the uncertainty. The third layer is selective attention. You don't compliment everything. You don't validate everything. You choose the right moments. And when you choose, the impact doubles. Women know the difference between an automatic compliment and an intentional one. Automatic sounds generic. Intentional hits the emotional system. Saying you look beautiful is ordinary. Saying the way you adjust your hair when you're thinking is fascinating. Touches something deeper because it reveals that you notice. Being truly seen is rare and dangerously addictive. The fourth layer is emotional control. She will test you, always. It's instinctive. She provokes, pokes, teases, creates little challenges, not to disrespect you, but to understand your internal structure. She wants to know if you're steady, if you have self-control, if you don't crumble over small things. If you react with irritation, you lose. If you react with neediness, you lose. But if you answer with humor, with calmness, with elegant detachment, you gain more emotional ground than any rehearsed line could ever give you. The forbidden seduction begins in the tranquility you maintain while every other man loses control. And then comes the fifth layer, physical presence without urgency. It's not touching too soon. It's not rushing into impulsive kisses. It's letting your body language enter her space slowly. The closeness of your face when you lower your voice. The light touch on her forearm. The gaze that drops and returns, not like a predator, but like someone who appreciates what he sees. Women interpret these details in amplified resolution. It's not the touch itself, it's the intention behind it. When the intention is mature, calm, grounded, she feels it. She senses herself becoming more interested than she originally planned. This is the moment seduction begins to feel illegal. Because you didn't take anything from her. You didn't force anything. You didn't conquer her directly. You simply created a space where she allowed herself to feel something. And when a woman allows herself to feel, the entire game shifts. Now she starts thinking about you during the day. She remembers the things you said. She looks for signs of you without admitting it. She checks if you saw the picture she posted. She becomes more open to conversations she would normally ignore. And most importantly, she begins testing you more frequently. That's the clearest sign you're already affecting her. Tests are good. Tests mean impact. She only tests what she fears losing. So when the provocations come, you don't confront. You don't complain. You don't dramatize. You smile. You flip the frame. You lead. And through that, she understands something rare. You're not just confident. You're comfortable inside your own energy. That combination is almost extinct. She starts realizing that your calm company soothes her. Your attention excites her. Your absence bothers her. Your presence marks her. And that you see beyond her surface. And no one resists for long being seen that deeply. Seduction happens when she realizes you can touch emotional parts other men overlook. And you do it without rushing, without pushing, just by existing like a man who controls his own axis. And when she senses this, when she feels she's losing control over her interest, she tries to hide it, tries to rationalize it, tries to pretend she's not involved. But her body betrays her, her voice betrays her, her eyes betray her. And this is the point where Machiavellian seduction becomes inevitable. The desire is already planted. You simply wait for it to bloom. Drop this in the comments. She chases what she can't control. When a woman begins to feel you have an emotional impact she cannot explain, something very important happens. She starts seeing herself through your eyes. Every gesture you make creates an expectation inside her, and that expectation guides her behavior. This is the most delicate moment of Machiavellian seduction because it demands balance. Most men try to adapt to her rhythm. You don't. You establish your rhythm and invite her to step into it. This changes everything, and then you use the most powerful weapon in Machiavellian seduction: conscious silence. Not cold silence, not ignoring her, silence with intention. It's the moment when you simply watch her speak, smile lightly, tilt your head slightly, and let the moment breathe. Women are not used to this. They're used to men who rush to fill every silence. When you refuse to do that, you create tension, and tension is the oxygen of desire. Another crucial point is intelligent humor. Not forced humor, not exaggerated jokes, not recycled lines, but surgical humor that reveals your sharpness. And then comes the most dangerous phase: atmospheric presence. This is when your presence stops being physical and becomes psychological. She thinks of you before sleeping, in the shower, on the bus, at work. You appear in her thoughts without her permission. This happens because you weren't overwhelming. You were unforgettable. They want quick dates. They want guarantees. They want to advance fast. Machiavelli would never make that mistake. The moment she starts missing you is the moment you must remain most elegant. The mistake is trying to close the deal. The correct strategy is allowing her to take small initiatives. That gives her the sensation of freedom. And freedom is essential for female desire. When she feels she's choosing you, her interest multiplies. At this point, you begin using proximity in a calculated way. When you're talking to her, lean in just a little closer than normal. Don't touch yet. Simply reduce the distance. This activates internal sensors she cannot control. Proximity alters her breathing pattern, changes her temperature perception, releases tiny doses of adrenaline and dopamine. You don't need to touch. Just being close is enough. This creates a magnetic field between you. And when you finally touch lightly, slow, deliberate touches that seem accidental but aren't. A touch on the shoulder when she laughs. A brief touch on the hip when you walk behind her. A slow graze of the hand when you pass something to her. Every touch must feel natural and inevitable. Unexpected rushed touches break the spell. Subtle touches build a narrative her body understands better than her mind. But perhaps the most powerful element is this: the way you look at her. The Machiavellian gaze isn't intense all the time. It's calibrated. Sometimes you look deeply and say something serious. Sometimes you look away and leave her wanting more. Sometimes you hold eye contact to seconds, longer than normal. The gaze creates meanings words can never reach. When she feels you see more than she says, silent intimacy forms, and silent intimacy is addictive. This is why everything feels illegal. Because you break the traditional logic of seduction and enter a deeper emotional logic. You touch parts of her that rarely get touched. You create an experience, not a technique. You stop being an option and become an atmosphere. And when that happens, she stops comparing you to other men. You're no longer a candidate. You become an enigma, and the enigma always wins. Drop this in the comments. I am the enigma. Then comes the moment when you realize she's completely invested but still refuses to admit it. She talks about you to her friends but hides it. She watches you when she thinks you're not looking. She replies to your messages quickly but tries to act casual. She gives signals she never gave before. All of this means one thing. You now control the emotional narrative. At this point, all you need is this same calm guidance for her to go even deeper. When a woman begins to rotate emotionally around you, the game shifts to a new layer, the layer of silent desire. You simply give her enough space for her to recognize she misses you. When you do this, you return with charm, with light energy, with comments that show you remain stable and centered. She realizes your absence is never punishment. It's rhythm, a rhythm she begins to follow. The second step is deep connection, which isn't built through obvious questions, but through conversations that reveal nuance. While everyone else asks, "What do you do?" you ask, "What do you seek?" While everyone else compliments her looks, you compliment her choices, her perceptions, her intimate gestures. You step into layers almost no one explores, and when you touch those layers, she opens without noticing. That emotional opening creates vulnerability, and vulnerability creates attachment. This is where the game deepens. You become the only man capable of making her feel something she doesn't feel with anyone else. And then comes the turning point, the moment she realizes she cares. This usually appears through subtle jealousy. She starts asking about your routine, about other women, about your plans. She tries to map your emotional world. This isn't explicit jealousy, but a delicate form of surveillance, a quiet attempt to understand whether there's competition. This creates the perfect psychological field. She feels she could lose you, but she also feels you choose her. And when a woman feels this, seduction reaches almost irreversible levels. The fourth step is absolute emotional control. Here you never show anxiety, never demand explanations, never question small behaviors, never react dramatically. She notices your mood. She asks about your day. She sends things that remind her of you. Women only do this when they're already invested. Drop this in the comments. She chose me. This is the phase where seduction feels completely illegal, because everything flows effortlessly. You didn't chase, you attracted. You didn't pressure, you guided. You didn't dominate, you influenced. She doesn't feel manipulated. She feels understood. You've become everything she was searching for, but could never name. And this is the essence of Machiavellian power in seduction, making her choose you while believing the choice was entirely her own. And when you sense she's fully involved, you don't change your behavior to take advantage of it. On the contrary, you increase the elegance, increase the calmness, increase the respect, increase the depth. You make her feel that being with you is entering an emotional territory where very few men can reach. This is what transforms her interest into surrender. In the end, Machiavellian seduction doesn't end in domination. It ends in reciprocity. She doesn't feel beaten. She feels complete. She doesn't feel used. She feels alive. She doesn't feel manipulated. She feels understood. And you, because you held your self-control from beginning to end, become the kind of man she wants. Not only out of desire, but out of admiration, connection, and deep respect. This is the absolute power of seduction that feels almost illegal. She chooses you. She desires you. She follows you emotionally. And she truly believes it was all her choice. That is the art. That is Machiavelli. That is you.